Okay, everybody, we looked at Mendelian genetics in lesson 3.3, and then here we go in 4.1. We're going to talk about heredity and genetic patterns that do not abide by Mendelian laws, if you will. And so things are, it's like the English language. You have certain rules, but, some of them are not exact and can have exceptions. So same thing here with Mendelian genetics. There are exceptions to those rules, and we call it non-Mendelian heredity. And so we'll get started here. Mendel's mode model of inheritance assumes that each trait is controlled by a single gene. Each gene only has two forms or two alleles, like blue eyes and brown eyes or something like that. There is a clear dominant recessive relationship where one is definitely going to hide the expression of another. The dominant hides the expressive nature of the recessive trait. And then most genes do not meet these criteria. So types of non-Mendelian forms of inheritance covered in this unit. And if you can click on all these, you'll see some more information. So there's something called incomplete dominance. There's something called codominance. There's multiple alleles, polygenic inheritance, sex-linked traits, pleiotropy. There is an environmental effect, and there's epistasis. Now, lesson 4.1 and 4.2 will go over all of these. So if you look at this picture of a cat, that cat has not only a white allele for hair color, it has a black allele, a tan allele, a red allele. It has lots of different colors and certain inheritance patterns. Potentially you can have a cat that has multiple hair colors. All right, so some of, again, these things that don't fit into Mendel's laws. You have something here, if you look at the picture on the right, a red flower and a white flower, you would think that the offspring would either be red or white according to Mendel. And yet in this picture, we wind up having a third phenotype, a different look, and it's called pink. Okay, so some of them, again, aren't going to fit under Mendel's laws. It's not governed by one autosomal gene. Again, these are genes that are in there, like for humans, chromosomes 1 through 22, not the sex chromosomes. And then the most inheritable traits are not going to follow Mendel's laws. So here's incomplete dominance. Again, similar to that picture before. We had one that was a parent that was pure red and a parent that was pure white. Their offspring should have been, according to Mendel, the dominant trait, either one red or white. But yet in incomplete dominance, neither one of the alleles, the allele for red, the allele for white, is able to express itself completely. And so you wind up having something called incomplete dominance, right? So a situation where two alleles blend to form a hybridized phenotype. So the hybridized phenotype is one that the pink plant that inherited a red allele and a white allele produces the pink color. Neither one is able to hide the other, more or less. Examples of 4 o'clocks in snapdragons in the plant world. So here's a typical incomplete dominant cross, the pure red with the pure white. If you look at the picture, notice that they're both kind of capitalized, so there's really no recessive trait here. So each hybrid plant is crossed, and you wind up having 3 phenotypes, the red, the white, and the pink, right, which is not typical. So here's a form of a non-Mendelian heredity pattern called codominance. And it's exactly like it sounds. Both of the alleles are able to express themselves. And so in this situation, both alleles of the gene pair are expressed, each allele represented as a dominant phenotype in the offspring. So the coat color in cows follows this codominant in our blood types as well. You have A blood, B blood, and so forth. So coats in color in cows, the pure red, the pure white, and if you have that mix or cross between the parents, you're going to wind up having a cow that has both the red and the white. In other words, it's not going to blend like in the incomplete dominance. So here is your codominant cross. Notice again, they're both capitalized. And you look at the offspring here, 100% of them will be that red and white color. In our ABO blood system, all right, type A is dominant, type B is dominant. Now, in this case, there's 3 alleles, so there's 2 different things going on here. You have the codominance and you have the multiple alleles. So instead of just having an A and a B blood type, you also have the O. So when 3 or more possible phenotypes exist within a population, the blood type, for example, eye and hair color, fur in mammals, all right, those fall under something known as multiple alleles. So there's multiple different patterns of the genotypes and phenotypes. So you can have A blood, B blood, AB blood, and O blood. So lots of different varieties that can be inherited. If A and B are inherited together, so somebody has AB blood, then in their on their blood cell you will see the AB agglutinogens, and so it's a form of codominance as well as multiple alleles. So the I stands for immunoglobulin, or the protein associated on the red blood cell that determines which type of blood cell it is. And so we put the I in there and it helps kind of just keep things organized. So in this case, you have an AB individual that is going to cross with another AB individual. And therefore, you can see in the Punnett square, you would wind up having one individual, or 25% chance of having only children with A blood, a 50% chance of having children with AB blood, and a 25% chance of having only B blood. So, combine codominance and multiple alleles, and you get 4 different phenotypes, 12 different genotypes. When getting blood transfusions, it's critical to know which one is yours. Okay, and that is it for 4.1. Go ahead and finish the lesson, and 4.2 is going to discuss the rest of the different types of Mendelian